Proportional Response. Book 1. Chapter 15, Part 8. We Want to Be Your Neighbors. Hannibal felt a severe pang of worry deep in his chest, and his heart thumped so hard he could feel them in his fingertips. Jalat undocked her platform from the wall and floated down to the level of the Prime Minister's podium, letting it turn as she went. Kilintar's words swam in Hannibal's head. Statement of intent. Annex Worlds. Henry, please tell me you smelled the trap. Hannibal gripped his hands and pushed them down into his lap, the blue of his hands a stark contrast against his white ambassadorial robes. He looked down at Henry to find that his friend had leaned back in his seat and begun to smile slightly. He had no time to consider his friend's actions. Jalat clasped her hands in front of herself and spoke in a calm, almost quiet voice. Thank you, Prime Minister. As you all well know, the Xultan have shepherded this league since its inception, a time so far in the past it could be considered ancient. The Xultan species has sacrificed repeatedly, given of our scales and our blood, to keep safe the trillions of souls who look to the League for protection and guidance. In all of these centuries of tireless labor and sacrifice, there are many burdens we have borne, silently and without protest. Ha! The day I ever see any Xultan voter at least, bear anything even slightly inconvenient, without whining to wake the dead, I'll eat my shorts. Hannibal thought to himself. Jalat's voice began to increase a little bit in volume, and to have a little more steel to it. She kept her words quiet and calm, but strong. We have suffered under the slings of your misconceptions and angers in silence, taken in stride the hate directed at us when we must act against one, to protect others, pushed and worked on our own society, and the red-eyed madness which sometimes overtakes our citizens, and so much more. There is, however, one burden we have silently borne, which we wish, today, to begin to alleviate. Our species is capable, indeed our innate drive strongly desire to, procreate far faster than we allow on any of our worlds. We have, however, kept our numbers in check for all of these centuries, despite the difficulties this causes for each of us personally, and the harsh measures we sometimes have to take with our own. We have done this for the good of the League, so that our citizens do not covet every inhabitable world that is found, and try to forcibly add them to our domain. Hannibal glanced back at the Duke amidst much shuffling about and rustling among the ambassadors. Kaslor's eyebrows drew down and a frown appeared for a moment on his face. Golner and Euro matched him for a moment, then all of their faces settled back into neutral expressions. The Xultans procreate somewhat slowly, and their natural expansion is hardly fast by most species standards. They also snap up far more than their fair share of new worlds, and everyone knows this. I wish I could challenge this outrageous bullshit, but it would not fit with the plan. He looked down at Henry and found him bent over his console, seemingly oblivious to Jalat's quiet tirade.
He knows.
The plan. For a moment, just a brief moment, he considered abandoning the plan, leaping to his feet, and publicly calling Jalat on her lies. His legs twitched, and he leaned forward, a burning desire to just do that pushing at his body. Then the Duke tapped to the foot of his chair, and his mind snapped back into focus. His hands began to shake at the realization of what he'd wanted to do. What he'd, possibly, even almost done. Too much time with the humans. Far too much time with the humans. Jalat continued to speak, refusing to so much as notice the undercurrent of emotion in the room. There are a great many reasons for our magnanimity, not the least of which is that we believe in, and well understand, the strength that comes from diversity. There are things that each and every one of you, individually and as a species, have brought to the League, and made the lives of all of our citizens richer. More shuffling ensued, and even a few murmurs, along with uncomfortable glances at the apparently oblivious Henry. This time, Jalat chose to notice, and quirked an eyebrow at the ambassadors. Hannibal could just see it from where he sat, but the close-up displayed on his personal screen brought the expression through very clearly. She regarded her audience a moment before she continued. Yes, I said every one of you have contributed positively to the League, and I meant exactly what I said. Every one of you, even our new, young, unruly problem children, the humans. They have brought a new perspective to many old problems, and special technologies and techniques for dealing with death worlds that none of us, even we wise Zoltans, would ever have considered. We, of the Zoltan Republic, wish, first, to officially commend the humans on their achievements in this area. We wish to further exalt them for their willingness to freely share so much useful information with their fellow sapiens of the League.
The humans, she says, not humanity. Even as she compliments them, she uses subtle pejoratives. Jalat hit a couple of buttons on her console, and words appeared across Enable's screen. He felt his own eyebrows rise involuntarily as he read them. The Zoltan Republic issued a formal letter of appreciation and commendation to the humans. Still not humanity? Oh, no, not that. The text called for all other ambassadors to add their own voices to the commendation. Enable reached up to hit the button to add his name and stopped. If I agree, I am also agreeing to the subtle insult. If I don't, it reflects badly on humanity in general and Henry in particular. He looked back at Golnar, who had obviously caught the subtlety. She shook her head at him. Yoro and Kazlor both shrugged unhelpfully. I think I agree with Golnar. He suddenly had to suppress a smile. You cunning Zoltan bastards outmaneuvered yourselves with this one. It doesn't matter how I vote here, I can spin it either way as I need to. So I might as well vote the way that will make you think I'm less sympathetic to humanity. He considered refusing to vote at all, but decided to push the decline button while keeping his eyes intently on Jalat and Kilantar. There. Both of them registered surprise, though they have enough control not to actually look at me. Stick that in your snouts and smoke it, you green little Kinzarks. Enable watched as the vote tally came in. He, the Findel, the Kothro and the Asinio were the only ones who voted against the proposal. No surprise there, though the Thamirkan abstaining is a surprise. No surprise the Gorfall abstained. Those rabbits won't even push the abstain button if they don't feel they have to. The votes came in, and it seemed obvious that Henry still rode a wave of approval in the aftermath of their actions to help everyone against the blight. Enibal looked down at Henry and saw his friend sitting silently, staring straight ahead, a completely unreadable expression on his face. I'd have thought he'd be pleased. The Exaltan are being forced to try and curry favor and finally give humanity their due. He felt his eyes narrow as he looked back up at the Prime Minister's platform. No, something isn't right here. Kilantar seems entirely too pleased with himself. This is him eating crow, as the humans say, which should make him grumpy and sullen. Yet, the final votes came in, and Jalat gave a broad, toothy smile. Uh-oh? The look was positively predatory, and her voice came out in cold tones at odds with her words. The proposal passes, and we all affirm our thanks and respect towards the humans. The Zoltan Republic is, especially, very grateful for their willingness to share such a wealth of knowledge about how to survive, and even thrive on death worlds. Our scientists and field operators have been studying all the information and tools the humans have so generously shared, and our voters have come to a conclusion. Due to the generosity of the humans, to their selfless willingness to share their primitive knowledge with all, we Zoltan no longer need to be so restrictive in our breeding, nor to continue to cripple our society, in order to keep our breeding in check. No, my friends and fellow sapiens, do not look so worried. We Zoltans have always respected the borders and needs of our brethren on this council. We do not desire your worlds, nor do we plan to take them for our own expansion. No, we have, thanks to the humans, a way to expand which will do nothing to impact any of you. In fact, it will be helpful to you all. Many of your worlds will be getting new trading partners as our expanding populations move into worlds previously considered uninhabitable. Just think, the industrial and commercial capabilities of the Zoltan Republic are well known. Imagine what wealth we will bring to your nations when we settle worlds, sometimes within your own solar systems, which you do not desire. Enibal kept silent, watching Jalat close the trap while he sat there, unable to do anything about it. He glanced at Kazla, Yoro, and Golnar. They kept their faces carefully blank, but he could see the fury in their eyes. They know. He kept his mouth carefully closed and schooled his features, but couldn't help suddenly sitting up ramrod straight. He looked down at Henry and found his friend had begun to pound away on his platform's keyboard. The rest of the ambassadors had begun to shift uncomfortably. Even the Findle showed signs of misgivings. No one is comfortable with a Zoltan outpost in their backyard, much less a full colony. One of the few saving graces of dealing with the blasted lizards is that they are generally so inwardly focused and far enough away to not be much of a bother. If, however, they are all but next door, they will be demanding even more of the sort of imbalanced trade deals they seem to expect, and probably expecting everyone else to help foot the bill for their own colonies as investments in the future for beneficial trade for all. He looked back at Kasler and saw an echo of his own thoughts on the man's face. He then turned to look back at Gillette and realized she had no idea she had begun losing her crowd. That pompous, arrogant bitch. She doesn't even realize that we can all see straight through her and her bullshit. Gillette favored the council with what she probably thought looked like a benevolent smile, but looked to him like a condescending smirk as she continued.
Therefore, it is with a happy heart that the Zoltan Republic has pulled together the funds to lay claim to the following list of worlds.
Gillette gestured with her hand and Enable's screen lit up before him. He barely glanced at the list, only checking it enough to confirm what he expected to find. The list itself gave him no surprise, but the last column did. She even listed the index of each world. Every single one of them is a 10.5 or higher. He watched as the names, and in some cases mere designations of worlds without officially registered names, scrolled down his screen. Yes, every single one of these worlds has a human colony. They hope to cost the Confederation a lot of money by forcing the Confederation to either outbid them for the worlds or clear their colonies off of them. Never mind the fact that the worlds were listed as abandoned, unclaimed when the human settled there, and the Zoltans have no right to push a claim. Also never mind that the Zoltans probably pilfered the funds they are putting up from League coffers.